very important news this week, obviously. Um, First is first full week of spring training for those baseball fans. So Vice Chair Lou and I rooting for our Dodgers. So I will be in Glendale, Arizona. So I know all of you are very focused on that as well. But more importantly, the House Democratic Caucus is so pleased to welcome back to Congress Tom Suozzi after his successful election last night. It's a great day for the country, for the people of New York's third congressional district, and it's a return to replacing someone in that seat, placing someone in that seat with the dignity to solve problems and to work in a bipartisan way to get things done, rather than a sideshow that was George Santos. One less vote for MAGA extreme Republicans to advance their abortion ban, one less vote for their desire to slash Social Security and Medicare, one less vote for them to help billionaires cheat on their taxes. Those are the things that the public knows and are important for House Democrats. This victory was made possible because of the leadership of our DCCC Field General Susan DelBene, Leader Jeffries, and the leadership team. They made smart, strategic decisions and investments down the home stretch that led to success. But this election also shows that the economic agenda is working, and people are beginning to reap the benefit of landmark legislation that we helped pass together and that Tom Suozzi helped pass with us. Because of the leadership of President Biden and Vice President Harris, we have created 14.8 million jobs throughout the country. Inflation is cooling and wages are rising. We know that there's more work to do to ensure that everybody feels in that economic success and that we're building a resilient economy that works for everyone. But we're excited to see this result, and we're excited to see around the country the benefit that those pieces of legislation provide. There's no doubt that we continue to put people over politics. We always have and we always will, and we welcome back Tom Suozzi, who will do just that. With that, I'll introduce the Vice Chair of the House Democratic Caucus, Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Chairman Aguilar. This year started off with a series of great economic reports. Consumer sentiment is up, wages are up. We had a blowout jobs report last month, far above expectations. The Dow Jones is above 38,000. If you have a retirement account or an education savings plan, your account is higher now than it was 4 years ago. At the same time, we know prices are high and some people are having trouble making ends meet. And that's why Democrats passed the Inflation Reduction Act to reduce inflation and to cap the cost of drugs such as insulin. It's also why we passed infrastructure law to create jobs, and why we passed the Chips and Science Act to bring back high-tech chip manufacturing to America. What are Republicans focused on? Stupid stuff, like baseless impeachments with no evidence, stopping a national security package that's going to improve America's national security, and doing things that no one in America really wants them to do, such as holding a hearing on UFOs. That's why Tom Suozzi flipped a New York special election district last night. The American people want a change. They want a Congress that actually does something. This is a completely do-nothing Congress in the hands of the Republicans, and the American people want to have us work on kitchen table economic issues, as Chairman Aguilar has said. I also want to note New York 3 had a high Asian American population, and the AA-NHPI community showed up. One reason is because Donald Trump mocks Asian Americans. He makes fun of people with funny sounding last names like Elaine Chao. He mocks and disrespects Asian Americans, and Republicans remain silent, and the Asian American community notices. We'll see you in November.
I'd also note that incredible members of our New York delegation, Greg Smang, Greg Meeks, but also Vice Chair Lieu was knocking on doors and helping out in New York 3 as well. Questions?
So obviously with Democrats trying to get this coordinated path to the finish line, one of the issues they run into is whether they just have to take other actions is the fact that the government was aggressive to what issues how do you know?
The overwhelming majority of the House Democratic Caucus is ready to vote for this bill. Give us a vote. It's that simple. Give us a vote on the national security package to provide aid to Ukraine and Israel, the Indo-Pacific region, as well as robust humanitarian assistance that is in that package. There is a bipartisan path forward. The Senate has just given us that. All we're asking for is a vote. And by the way, over 300 members would vote for a package like that. So the question isn't for House Democrats. The question is for Speaker Johnson. What is he afraid of to put national security first, to help our country, to push back and push back against Putin, and to make sure that our country is protected? What is his concern? Give us a vote. House Democrats will be focused on bipartisan solutions, working in a way that will help deliver that piece of legislation. That's what we'll do until we get it done. And that's what we have heard loud and clear from our members, and that's what we plan to do.
I agree with what Chairman Aguilar said. Speaker Johnson has said to let the House work its will. Well, the way the House works its will is to vote. So we're simply asking for Speaker Johnson to let us vote. If there's a vote on the floor of their Senate package, it would pass with overwhelming bipartisan support. Unfortunately, Speaker Johnson seems to be captured by their Marjorie Taylor Greene extreme faction of the party, their pro-Putin caucus. There's really no other explanation for why he wouldn't let a vote happen on this bipartisan bill.
Lisa. No, go ahead. I'll let the president speak to his calendar, he and his team. I can tell you that the legislative leaders did sit down, right, weeks ago. They talked about these issues. I don't know substantively what the speaker wants to get, what feels he can accomplish with that type of setting. I think it's very clear. But look, if he wants advice, we're happy to give him some. Put this bill on the floor. That's what he can do to help our country. That's what he can do to have some bipartisanship, to support bipartisanship. It's very clear. If you want to push back against Putin, if you want to help our national security, put this bipartisan bill on the floor. Let's fund our national security priorities. Let's do it in a bipartisan way. That's what the Senate did. We don't know what Speaker Johnson is afraid of. Lisa, then next. We continue to be hopeful, and Speaker Leader Jeffries has indicated that all options are on the table. Our focus and our goal is to make sure that we fund Ukraine, fund Israel, fund humanitarian assistance, fund Indo-PACOM priorities. That's what the president has asked us to do to meet the national security needs of this country, and we feel that it's important. But the timing is also incredibly important when it comes to Ukraine. Now, we've all had various briefings. The importance of this moment, we have heard Senator McConnell speak on the Senate floor. We have heard other legislative leaders talk about this importance. We feel that, we understand that. Some members just came back from a trip to Ukraine as well. So taking in their thoughts, their reflections of what they saw on the ground. But this is important, not just for the United States, this is important for the world. This is important for NATO. And that comes back to why Republicans are pushing back. Donald Trump criticizes NATO, and House Republicans carry his water to try to kill this bill and to torpedo this bill. That's what's going on. Let's be very clear about the Ukraine funding specifically. Donald Trump is the leader of their party, and Donald Trump has said not to fund this. And so it's a concern that every American should have when it comes to national security and what exactly the former president's motivations are. But we stand ready and willing to put up votes to get this done. That's what we're focused on. So take the theatrics aside, take the personalities aside. How do we get this done? That's what House Democrats are focused on. Max? Yeah, I think we watched the arc of the entire campaign. But no, Tom Suozzi was a key part. He was a vote for a lot of these pieces of legislation, so I think he can talk about it in a very genuine way, like a lot of our members currently can talk about it. The creation of jobs, Inflation Reduction Act, as the vice chair mentioned, chips and science, bipartisan infrastructure bill. He has the ability, one, to connect with voters because he's done this job. He brings local government experience that he had as well, but he also has a track record that he can talk to and point at. So I do think that where that is possible for our colleagues is they go about campaigning on our track record. Of course, we give credit to the administration for their role and their leadership that they played. But a lot of us have voted for these landmark pieces of legislation that have created jobs. And so it's important to also talk about that. Tom Suozzi also has a track record of voting for the Dream and Promise Act and working in a bipartisan way to deliver immigration reform. So I'm not worried about positions that he took or things that he said. I'm confident he's going to be a friend and a colleague on these issues and is going to help us chart a path toward bipartisan success in the future.
I think the framing of your question is not correct. Tom Suozzi actually ran on comprehensive immigration reform. He supports that. And he also said he supports the Senate bill. It was the Republicans that tanked that Senate bill on the orders of Donald Trump. The voters in New York 3 noticed. In addition, Tom Suozzi ran on saying he's not going to ban abortion. He's not going to support a national abortion ban. The voters in New York 3 also noticed that as well. And I think those are messages that will resonate in every single district.
Look, Democrats also believe in on-the-job training, and that's clearly, where Speaker Johnson is right now. But you have to be able to do two things at once. Nancy Pelosi frequently did 12 things. I understand doing two is hard for him, but that's what the job entails. And so we've got to focus. We have multiple priorities to get done, and that's what we should be focused on. But the Appropriations Committee should be working on. They have their numbers. They should be marking up those bills. We still have ample time on the floor this week and in 2 weeks that we can take up a national security supplemental if the speaker was truly intent on delivering this, or what we're finding out is he just wants to carry Donald Trump's water. But we have to be able to do multiple things at once here. But he's shown incapable of that. I think specifically, on the immigration frame, we've read articles. We understand New York has a lot of thoughts on this issue, and I think that's fair. I think the vice chair is absolutely correct as well. I mean, Tom Suozzi has a rich record of voting and supporting comprehensive immigration reform. I mentioned the Dream and Promise Act, the Farm Worker Modernization Bill. Those are bipartisan pieces of legislation. And Tom Suozzi talked about this openly. He also talked about the Senate bipartisan bill when it included the border component before, just a reminder, before Donald Trump exercised his senatorial veto and got the House and Republican senators to oppose that portion. And they walked away from a bipartisan solution that they themselves negotiated. So I think that's the lesson. here is whatever Donald Trump says is where House Republicans are going to land. And so from our perspective, people like Tom Suozzi and members who have a track record on these issues have leaned in and will continue to lean in on being problem solvers, working in a bipartisan way. That's what the public wants us to do. They want us to solve issues of the day, and that means working to find common ground. Leader Jeffries has said we're going to continue to find that common ground wherever we can with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle. That's what we plan to do on national security, and that's what we plan to do on other issues of importance. Questions? Nick? I think that's super insidery, for questions for this room. Thank you for bringing up my failed discharge attempt as well, Nick. I appreciate it. I'll have to seek some more help talking about that. Look, I think it is one tool. Leader Jeffries has said this is one tool that we are considering in order to pass our national security priorities. At the end of the day, the American public is focused on us doing our job. They see the United States Senate working through a process over the weekend in a bipartisan way and voting up or down on a bill, and people having differing viewpoints on both sides of the aisle. That's what they expect. That's what they expect out of their leaders. That's what they should expect out of their House, out of the House of Representatives. I think what's changed, though, to your question is so few people, I think, on the other side of the aisle are willing to tell their leadership no. We had 20 plus members who were willing to sign a discharge petition for a path to citizenship for DACA. That was 6 years ago. The environment's changed a little bit, and it has always been, for the better to work together. And so finding our Republican colleagues who are committed to funding Ukraine, committed to funding humanitarian aid, committed to funding our closest ally in Israel, that's what we're searching for. And to the extent they want to work with us, we're happy to find a way to work together with them. But that's the importance of the moment is to solve this national security prerogative, and we'll figure out the method and the manner in order to do that.
So instead of sort of focusing on the process, I just want to talk a little bit about the substance of what is happening. Vladimir Putin attacked Crimea, and he was victorious. He attacked again. He attacked Georgia, and he was victorious. He then attacked again. If he is victorious in Ukraine, he will attack again. And at that point, it's going to cost the U.S. even more money and potentially risk our men and women in our armed forces. It should not be lost on people that Donald Trump basically said that Russia should invade Europe. I didn't say that. He said that. It's on video. And I can tell you, Vladimir Putin is listening to that. That's why it's so important that we make sure Vladimir Putin is not victorious in Ukraine. And the simplest way to do that is for Speaker Johnson to simply let us vote. Let us vote on this supplemental national security bill. It's going to help America. It's going to prevent future conflicts, and simply give us a vote.
Well, stay tuned over the next 48 hours. I expect there to be some discussion in the Rules Committee and on the House floor about reauthorizing FISA. We've had some of those discussions already. Some of those members need to avail themselves of going down into the SCIF and receiving briefings. But the importance of reauthorizing FISA is a common thread among everybody on this issue. The manner in which we do that, the amendments that may be ruled in order, and how we vote on those is all process stuff. But the importance of FISA is very clear, and so we plan to have that discussion and debate on the floor and in committee. We hope that we can pass that by the end of the week. We'll see. The administration has had conversations with a number of members. We appreciate their viewpoints as the individuals who are the practitioners of FISA, but we play an important oversight role as well. And so we want to make sure that we get it right. And that's the importance of the discussions that we've been having as well, and that we will have this week. Thank you very much.